Here we are at the first ever KRK Creative Contest. Thank you for everyone who submitted their entries, all our fantastic Notes for Notes youth. The tracks have been amazing. I personally got a chance to listen to them, all the submissions. So for those who are here on the call, congratulations. You guys obviously been selected for your fantastic tracks. And the judges, thank you so much for your expertise in listening to those tracks and helping pick our winners. We're going to go and we're going to let everybody who's won, we're going to let everybody go and I'm going to share the tracks so everyone can hear them. And we're also going to have the judges give their input of why they selected those tracks and also give a little brief background about themselves. And we're also going to hear from our recipients as well for what inspired the track, all those good things. Okay. So before we start, we want to welcome Mr. Brian Hardgroove from Public Enemy. And we want to give you a little bit of backstory, sir. Just give us a little bit of backstory about your expertise in the music industry, how long you've been. Your resume is huge, so it would take about an hour to talk about all the great things that you've done. But everything that everyone that you've collaborated with, to Marcantonio, to Aerosmith, to Public Enemy, obviously Flavor Flav, being a bass player, a producer, obviously working in a time back in, I don't know, let's say, what, were we going back to the 80s? We're going back to the 80s?
No. Public Enemy started with just 3 guys. I was one of the few people on the planet who was actually asked to join his or her favorite band. So I joined after Public Enemy was mine and everybody else's favorite group.
Wow. Well, can you give us a little bit of backstory for some of the younger individuals? I know we're mixing ages and stuff in here in all walks of life, but for some of the younger youth that may not know the history and the story about what that did for music in that era and what it was like recording and some of the gear you had to use and some of the obstacles in that time being such a super group. Can you explain a little bit of your history and how you came up in the game, sir?
Well, I'll have to make it very short. The technology at the time was still tape-based. Samplers were new. The Bomb Squad, the production team was basically Chuck D, Hank Shockley, Eric Sadler, and Hank's brother, Keith. And those records were historic in that it was music that was sonically challenging to a lot of people, that supported a message that challenged our society. So the technicalities, the technology of making the record, when the record was being made, was changing rapidly into what it looks like now. But Public Enemy did have one musician in it prior to me joining, and that was Eric Sadler. And Eric's musicality is what permeated that music. And that's why people like Herbie Hancock, who's one of the greatest musicians that this country's ever produced, that the world's ever produced. That's why Herbie and people like him dug Public Enemy, and we had conversations about working together. They never really got to it. But so my interest in Public Enemy was primarily because of the lyrical content. Musically, it was very aggressive and satisfied a lot of what I liked in music. But the content was the draw for me. So I'm actually hoping I'm answering a number of the questions you sort of like touched on.
Sure.
And so that was the draw for me. I grew up in Hollis, Queens. So I was surrounded by, the biggest rap group, which is Run DMC. And I'm currently doing an album with DMC. And but my draw to the genre wasn't ignited until Public Enemy hit the scene, which was in '87, because the subject matter is what that attracted me, and then musically, everything else then fell into place. So I had been traveling the world before Public Enemy was even created. So a lot of people make the mistake of thinking that that's my background, that PE or hip hop generally is my background. I had a career before Public Enemy, but my career became legitimate in joining Public Enemy, and then all the things I was able to do after that. So without me going on too long, did I touch on the couple of things you just asked me?
No, absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you. And so when you do that, so with that space right now, we're talking about a particular genre, really, hip hop, all the stuff in that Queens, New York, that was a time where we were really starting to see a cultural impact made in that space. But then you go and you cross collaborate in genres with Aerosmith, and then you cross it to in Marcantonio. We're in the Latin music now and that fusion. So what was that transition like, and what was the inspiration to go from where you started to be able to break into different molds?
Yeah, interesting. When when um, when Run DMC started working with when he did Walk This Way with Aerosmith, that was shocking to a lot of people. A lot of folks viewed hip hop and rock, and Aerosmith is one of the best rock bands this country's ever produced, and a lot of people in America view those two things as different, and they're not different. Daryl DMC, he and I both grew up in Hollis, and we heard all of the big, we had, in New York City, anything that's being played anywhere in the country gets played in New York, even country music, even though there were no country stations in New York. We did have one briefly for a couple of years, but we heard everything. Daryl and I grew up listening to the Ohio Players, Earth, Wind and Fire, the Carpenters, yes, ABBA, and everything else that was popular. That's what we grew up listening to. So when DMC worked with Aerosmith, it was not an anomaly for them. It was just an anomaly for the music industry, which had been aggressively segregating everything. But it was a natural step. So that's my view of that particular combination. My working with Marcantonio, um, that came from a very different angle. As I said earlier, I had a career as a bass player even before Public Enemy was ever conceived of, and that career served me when David Byrne from the Talking Heads. I'm sure you guys know who that is. David Byrne had got a contract from Warner Brothers he went into an agreement with Warner Brothers for his own label. His label, Marcantonio's band leader, also lived in Hollis. His name is Angel Fernandez from the Dominican Republic, and Angel asked me if I would submit some demos to him that he could submit to David Byrne for a soundtrack he was doing. And I was on my way. I was in London and on my way to Norway, and I called back home. There was no internet at the time. Called back home, checked on my grandmother, and my grandmother told me that David Byrne called. I got in contact with them. They flew me back to New York to work on the soundtrack, and Marcantonio was on it. Marc was on it. It was one of the few songs that David Byrne wrote that he didn't produce, and uh, who else was on? I can't remember everyone who was on that record. Marc was the standout, but the movie had a lot of big people in. Madonna was in the movie, on and on and on and on. And so that trend, doing that kind of work was not new for me either, because, like I said, I grew up listening to everything. My dad listened to all types of Latin music, Fania All Stars, and this record we produced for David had that kind of a flair to it. And so it was stuff I grew up with. I knew it, and I was able to contribute. So again, it was nothing outstanding, and that's one of the things that I think that I really like sharing with folks. That a lot of young people, unfortunately, today are growing up in a very segregated musical environment. When music is much more segregated than it was when I was a teenager. It was very segregated before I was born. And then as I was growing up in the 70s, music was really, really a cultural connections were being made, and record companies were supporting that. And a lot of the best music this country ever produced was in that time period. It was very artistic, very adventurous, and very musical. And then when MTV came along, music got severely segregated again. And to this day, it still is. So things look strange, like, well, this person is combined with that person. These things were always mixed at the height of American music output. And it'd be interesting to get back to that. And I'm not sure if I answered your question again, but that's what made me think.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You know, and that brings another point in today's age. Obviously, recording. I'm fortunate to say I'm on that hybrid cusp, right? Like I was able to go record in analog studios and go and record with tape and all that stuff right before the shift, to being able to say, oh, I got a studio in my bedroom, you know, when all that stuff was happening. But you're current today. You're current. You said you're working on the record with Run now, and
no, not with Run, with Daryl, with DMC.
Oh, excuse me. With DMC. So, what is that like? Obviously, you guys had that chemistry. What, I don't want to, a couple decades ago. So now, jumping fast forward, what is that like recording in the space? Has it changed much? Is the chemistry in the studio different? Is the process different? Because we have a lot of youth on the call right now who are making fantastic records that would never know what that old school recording was like. So, is it much different in the process?
Well, I wouldn't use this particular project as an example of what it was like back in the day, because we are recording the way young people are recording now. Because I live in the Midwest. I live in the Southwest. I live in Santa Fe, New Mexico. I'm literally in the Rocky Mountains. Okay, I look outside my door, I see the Rocky Mountains. Daryl is in New Jersey, I believe, and Johnny Juice, who is an incredible DJ. He's in New York. He's still back in, close to the neighborhood. So we're using today's technology to make this record. Now, the reason we're able to do it is because we grew up in a studio. We grew up with musicians. We know how to play in advance of hearing something to get a certain vibe and all that. We have that advantage. We grew up with it, so we know when something's really kicking. But to speak to a studio environment, I'm going to be doing a project. I was just asked by I can't really get too much into who it is that asked me, but I'm doing starting a big production company here in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and we're going to be working in one of the main studios here, because that process of working in a studio with other players and other creative folks is much better for me. And I think musical output over generations supports this, that when we work alone too much, our ideas are only as good as the ideas we have. I personally, I'm a multi-instrumentalist, and I get a lot of praise for my bass playing, my drumming, my guitar playing, but it's my guitar playing, my bass playing, my drumming. I don't want to hear myself playing all those things. There are people who want to do that because they like to be able to say, I played everything or I produced everything. But very few people can do that on a high level, on a level where, not where the chops are on a high level. There are a lot of people who have chops, but musicality is a vibrational thing. And one individual can only vibrate the way they vibrate. If you're vibrating with multiple people, you're naturally going to come up with something that's bigger than you. And that is what music has always been for me. Now, Prince is one of those guys who played all the instruments himself. But for me, and I have all of Prince's records, but for me, a lot of his early records are unlistenable because they're very one-dimensional. When I'm aware of what it is he actually can do, and when he's playing with other musicians, his music is far more impactful, and was actually more successful because it worked on a larger vibrational level than just him. So, and Paul McCartney was another one who famously did records like that, and then worked with bands too. So the process of working with other people is extremely valuable for any musician, even beyond the music. It's a human experience. Mm-hmm. A lot of our young people are growing up with things we didn't grow up with. I didn't grow up with this, with the cell phone. That I can. This is like the new iPhone. It's like I expect this thing to be able to make breakfast for me one day. It does everything, but it can't be another person to me, and it can't deliver to me vibrational input. That only comes from other humans. So a lot of the young folks who have all the technology at their disposal, it'd be good if somewhere in their experience they can get the benefit of working with other people, bouncing their ideas off other people, and hearing themselves speak to other people. When you're in the presence of other folks in an artistic environment, you're actually hearing what's coming out of your mouth very differently than if you're speaking to yourself or just speaking to someone on the phone. It's very different. And that's the same thing with what someone will play, what they'll play back to you. It's all very in the moment. When you capture those moments, you have something bigger than yourself. And that's when you get the type of success that an Earth, Wind and Fire had, or Metallica had, or any band that's continuing to fill up arenas. The Rolling Stones, U2, bands like that.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. Goodness gracious. Thank you so much for that. And lastly, before we go into listening to these wonderful tracks, not sure if everyone's gotten to hear them, but I'm excited for you all to, if you haven't heard all the songs across the various genres, because we really do have a wonderful, wonderful group of youth across the nation who have done incredible work, who have been in what I would say a very, very saturated market. We use the word segregated. I also use the word saturated. I mean, everywhere you go, everyone is a musician. Everyone is an artist now. They give you tools to where you can push a button and it makes the song for you. We haven't made microwaves yet, or our phones don't cook our food yet, but they certainly do make a lot of our music right now. And our youth have done an incredible job of being authentic to their craft with or without the technology. So, again, thank you very much for that. We're going to go ahead and rock and roll with the first genre, which is the rock genre. So is Miss Cassandra J. Lee Stewart here. J. Lee, you here?
Yep.
All right. Are we possible to have cameras on for our recipients? We just want to see everybody's face if it's possible.
Yeah.
We want to just honor you. I'm sorry?
I think she's getting her camera on right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And we're going to let you talk about your track, and then we're also going to let Mr. Joe Marlett introduce himself and give a little bit of backstory of why you chose that track. So we can do it either way. Who wants to go first? Joe, would you like to talk about why you chose the track, or Jay Lee, you want to talk about what inspired you to make this track? Joe,
okay.
Joe, we'll go with you.
All right, sounds good.
Sir, thank you for being here.
All right, of course. Cassandra, it's nice to meet you. I don't see you yet, but hopefully I will soon. So I'll just start with the reason why. So when your track first came on note one of you singing, your voice stood out to me. And there's so many singers out there, and so many good singers, but for me, what stands out with a singer is like a tone of voice and a style. And stylistically, I think that that's what grabbed my ear. You form your words, your vowels, you have a thing that stands out from other singers. And so when I heard this tune, that's what initially drew my ear in, and what ultimately led for my my choosing your song was just your tone of voice, and the way you delivered your lyrics. The lyrics too were also they were good. They were clever. There was a lot of references with metaphors, and it wasn't just standard cliche types of things. And so that's what drew me into your song.
Thank you.
Of course.
We'll go back here. Okay, so we'll go back here. Yeah. So, Mr. Joe, can you please give us a little bit of your background before we play this record?
Sure. So I started in the late 90s, early 2000s. I happened to just be in the right place at the right time, and ended up in the studio with bands like Blink-182, Switchfoot, Foo Fighters, Queens of Stone Age, and that just kind of launched a career into rock. And somehow a band over in Spain heard my some of my records. they hit me up, which launched an ultimate almost 2-decade-long career working in Spain and Mexico with a bunch of Spanish artists. So me being a non-Spanish speaker, it was an interesting, sorry about the phone. It was an interesting way for me to find a niche in a market that I probably never would have even thought of. But again, it's just the right people heard it. And here I am like 20 years later. So that's my background.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much. Thank you. Jay Lee, did you want to speak a little bit about your record?
Sure. This song is mainly a play on the fact that people believe dark to be bad and good and light to be good. But for many, light means they wear a disguise. The moment they can be authentic is when the sun goes down. Though it may seem like hiding, it's actually helping them to heal from possibly the emotional wounds they received during light without a disguise.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Well, here we go. Let's play it. Let's hear it. Candlelight.
I'm hiding in the dark until morning rises. If you come see my heart before all my vices, that's how I enjoy my life. No eternal disguise or lie. You can find me in candlelight. I'll be bold to feel you without all my wounds inside or between us. I can choose you to heal through. Everything between the pillows has a no deeper purpose. Close all the doors and windows to remove the surface. That's how I enjoy my life. No eternal disguise or lie. You can find me in candlelight, and I'll be bold to feel you without all my wounds inside or between us. I can choose you to heal through. You can find me in candlelight, and I'll be bold to feel you without all my wounds inside or between us. I can choose you to heal through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was fantastic. And shout out to you, Alex Perez, for being a producer on that track. Yeah.
Appreciate it, man.
There you go. Collaboration, artist, network, and all that good jazz, man. Yeah, that was good. One more round of applause for her. Great job. All right. We're going to move on to the electronic instrumental genre. Our winner for that one is Shamar Studdard. I saw that you were working. You were able to make it here. Thank you. Thank you very much for being here. We're going to go ahead and do the same process. Let's talk about, let's first introduce Miss Allie Stone, the judge who judged this record. Can you give us a little bit of your background and also tell us why you chose this record?
Well, hi guys, I'm Allie Stone. I'm a producer and multi-instrumentalist and artist from Colombia, based in LA. And I've been playing music since I was little. Since I was 4, I began with classical piano. Then I moved on to blues and jazz with guitar, then starting like instruments, then into production. It was kind of like my life always revolved around music. And I basically started my career that I do now 8 years ago, basically in contests of like remixing. I would remix songs, and then I won this contest to make a song for Monsters University, the movie. And that was basically what kickstarted my career. And now I'm here in LA. And well, Shamar's song really stood out to me because of the arrangement. Like I remember listening to this and like the keyboards in the beginning that are like super spacey, like they just like caught my ears, because it was kind of like this ear candy that it was like, oh, like what is happening here? And then it began like to develop with the drums and the bass line. And I really liked that it had like each instrument had its voice. So it wasn't kind of like it was very well defined. Like he knew what he was doing with the keys, with the bass. It was kind of like nothing was clashing with the other instruments. And I also liked that it was like very like easy to digest. Like it wasn't too complicated or like with like arrangements that are kind of like complex, but it was kind of like this minimalistic yet like cohesive composition that really took me like to a place of like peace, basically listening to it. So I really, really enjoyed it. And it sounds really well, the recording, the production. Like I was really impressed by the quality of the sound, because even like in when I was your age, like my music didn't sound like that. So it was like, oh wow, like this sounds amazing. So yeah, congrats. Very, very cool.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Ali. Shamar, you want to tell us a little bit about your inspiration for this record?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so ever since I was young, I always had an interest in, jazz, and that kind of flourished when I came to the Notes for Notes studio, when I was able to actually kind of express myself in that minimalistic view. I always just found that kind of peace and tranquil type music was always the best type of music, because it was easy to make, and also it allowed like a big like room for creativity, solos and all that other stuff. So I made the song just to kind of express that feeling of just minimalism and creativity at the same time. Yeah.
That's awesome. I remember actually when Mimi sent over the first record, and I saw you and your profile picture on the song that she sent, and I was like, who is this rock star, man? I'm like, this dude is serious, man. Hey, so congratulations. And also for you, Mimi, you got production credits on the track as well. So great job. Let's go ahead and play it. Here we go. Shamar with Easy. fantastic.
Can I ask something real quick? Can I ask something real quick?
Yes.
I'm only getting mono in here. Are you transmitting in stereo or?
Yeah, it should be playing in stereo. Is anyone else having any issues hearing?
Okay. It's no big deal. It's, I mean, the song, everything sounded really good. I was just wondering why it's mono in here. That's all.
I think Zoom only does mono. I'm not sure.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah, Zoom could only do mono.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah. Hey, fantastic record, Shamar. That was awesome. That was awesome. And again, great job on the production. All right. We're moving in to the hip hop genre, hip hop category. Ram, my guy. Congratulations on this record, man. We're gonna follow the same process. We're gonna get to let you talk about it because Ram, you've been a busy guy. I see you and I like your haircut too. But Amadeus, can you please first introduce yourself and let us know a little bit about why you chose this record?
Peace and blessings, everybody. First off, thank you for having me. I'm grateful to be a part of this amazing opportunity for you amazing creatives. Glad to be alongside this amazing judges panel as well. I had a lot of fun. Going through these amazing records. Music for me is always a feeling and is always a mood. So Ram definitely put me in the zone and in the space, with the record that he presented. I just love the feel of it. Of course, me being a record producer, I got to connect with the track. His melody was pretty dope. It just felt like it was something that can be on the radio right now in this moment, competing with every other record, Amigos record, a Drake record. Like I felt like it was that strong enough to be able to, be on the same airwaves as those other artists, So shout out to Ram. In regards to myself, excuse me, I am a multi-platinum bad boy hitman producer that has been blessed to produce for over 100 artists, ranging from J-Lo to French Montana, Chris Brown, Tiger, Young Jeezy, Fabulous, T.I., Keisha Cole. On that side, I do a lot of film scoring and created a lot of theme songs. I'm a big sports fan. And if anyone else that's a sports fan on here as well, I produced a theme song for ESPN First Take that comes on every day with Stephen A. Smith. It was Skip Bayless and Carrie Champion, but now it's Stephen A. Smith, Max Kellerman, and Molly Karam. So that on the musician side, I tour with Trey Songz as his music director and tour drummer. I've been doing that for 14 years now. And I'm also a resident drummer at Dre's nightclub, which is in Las Vegas. So that's kind of me in a nutshell. Again, happy to be here, and congrats again, Ram. Let's see if we can take it to the top, man.
Oh man, that's awesome. Ram, you hear that, man? You hear that? You got work to do, man. You keep going, buddy. But tell us a little bit about it, man. Tell us what inspired you to make this record.
Can y'all hear me just fine? Just making sure.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. So a little backstory behind this record. I originally am not the greatest at writing. Kind of this record you're about to hear is kind of more of a happy-go-lucky song, but it does have a deeper meaning to me. I think basically it's you can roll with the punches and go with the flow. That's kind of how I look at life, and it's kind of how I just move on. I think it's, I never try to dwell on the past. I let that kind of shape me. And I wrote this song for the Boys and Girls Club of San Francisco Gala, and I sadly didn't get to perform it live last year because of the pandemic. But I was really happy with the way it came out, and it has a strong theme, and I'm really excited for you guys to hear it. So thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Ram. Here we go.
Took a lot to stay here now, to write this song about pains of life. Had to go through route to get to speak us somehow. Hurt in my life, I keep on rolling, moving with the punches, keep on strolling. Take out the mask, no more fooling. Just so you know, anxiety's great. Life is good on the top, just like I should. Put life on pause if I could. Something I wish I understood, but it's okay. I'll take it that way. We only live one, can't let that fade. On the grass, hey, with my friends. Don't be scared, just take my hand. Please don't tie. Just understand. 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 I don't wanna be the one to say it. I don't really wanna have to replay it. Times like these ain't weren't my favorite. Hold that bad news, I know you can save it. Memories when I was furious. Remembering I was insane. Mad at the world, I was curious. Thoughts all up in my brain. People thinking I was delirious. Stuck to every single grain. But soon I started feeling this impacting. Life is great, life is good. On the top, just like I should. Put life on pause if I could. Something I wish I understood, but it's okay. I'll take it that way. We only live one, can't let that fade. On the grass, hey, with my friends. Don't be scared, just take my hand. Please don't talk. Just understand. 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 Can't live a life on the low. What do you take me for? Life is great, life is good. On the top, just like I should. Put life on pause if I could. Something I wish I understood, but it's okay. I'll take it that way. We only live one, can't let that fade. On the grass, hey, with my friends. Don't be scared, just take my hand. Please don't talk. Just understand. Just understand. Just understand. Just understand. Just understand. Just understand. Just understand.
Miss Amadeus, absolutely right. If I would have walked into the studio and heard that playing, I would have thought that was on the radio if I didn't know this guy, man. That's a great record. Great record, dude. Awesome. All righty. We're going into the country genre with Krista Campbell. And this song is awesome too. Again, got to hear all these records and I'm like, man, first of all, the fact that we have this many genres that we're able to do, it just kind of shows you what we do as an organization. We're not focused on just one. We do everything. We give opportunities for our youth to be able to just spread out and do what it is that they feel attached to. It makes them feel authentic. So this is awesome. We have Judge Mr. Steve Marcantonio. Would you like to go ahead and first introduce yourself, sir? Tell us a little bit about yourself and also why you chose this record.
Hey, everybody. First of all, I want to say that I feel really out of place here. You know, I'm the oldest by far, and I don't think I'm prepared for this because I chose the song because it was the only one in the genre, but it was really, really cool, I must say. I respect all of your music. You know, I wish I had all of this available when I was young. I'm from New Jersey, Elizabeth, New Jersey, which is 18 miles from New York City, and I started a place called the Record Plant Studios in New York City. That's where John Lennon did all of his recordings, and I was with John and Yoko the night that John was killed. John left, I said goodbye, an hour later he was gone. So and what is it, Brian, hearing Brian talk in the beginning just blew me away, man. I already reached out to him, but what he had to say was really cool. He was naming a lot of artists that I'm sure a lot of the younger people here don't recall, but I got to work with, I did a session with Kiss, I worked with Aerosmith, I worked on the Blues Brothers movie soundtrack. So, you know, I was there from 78 till about 86. And I remember about 5 of those years because the late 70s, 80s were pretty intense. But, you know, I'm just a recording engineer. I'm not one of these high-fluting mixers. I did a lot of mixing for country. I worked with Dina Carter, Trisha Yearwood, Reba, Vince. I did a lot of stuff with Vince Gill. I worked with Alabama years ago when they were current. And I started in the business as an engineer back when you needed an engineer to do a record and you had to go to a physical studio. And I came up the hard way. I came up, being yelled at and reprimanded right in front of all the people in the studio. And it was rough back in the day, and it's not that way anymore. I worked on analog tape. I worked on the record Freeze Frame by Jay Giles, and I spent a week editing mixes for that. That was quite a trip. I did something about 3 years ago in Phoenix for my cousin. His son was in a high school, and I got to hear a lot of their music, and every song was really depressing, and it made me wonder. Well, it made me think that these people have music in school to help them out, and the music is their drug, and we need more music in school. We need arts in school. I think kids need to learn and play starting at a young age, because I think music is very, very healing and helpful. And I don't know where the Nashville studio is here for your program, but I would love to offer my services. And country music has changed really, really drastically. I'm pretty far removed from it now. I'm doing a lot of independent rock stuff because that is my background. I love rock music. But country has changed so much, so it's more like it is pop music mixed with rock, and some of it is okay, and some of it is just like everything else. But I'm very happy and humbled to be here. I loved your Amadeus. I loved everything you had to say. You have a really cool spirit, man. And
thank you, man. And you're a legend, by the way. Don't be downplaying yourself, Steve. Everybody you name is absolutely legendary. So you absolutely are in the right place and at the right time, because if without you, it would be no me. I just wanted to just say that. Without you, it would be no me. So salute to you, legend.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. They have there's Blackbird Studios here. I don't know if you're all familiar with Blackbird. It's an amazing studio, and they have a school there called Blackbird Academy. And I speak to the students. I love helping out the young generation and trying to help them form their music or do sounds, get their sounds. So, and when I gave scores, that's the other thing too, is when I score for these songs, I don't give anyone a 1. That's so degrading. You know what I mean? It's like the effort that you kids, excuse me for calling you kids, put into this stuff is enough that you're winners already. And Krista, where do you live?
I'm from Atlanta.
Oh, cool. So you're right down here. Cool. Well, if you ever come up here, please look me up, dear, and I'll show you around.
Yes, for sure.
So anyway, thank you for having me. And thank you for your kind words, Amadeus. I really needed this today. This is very helpful for what's up there going on. But in any case,
I can relate, man. It's inspiring.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you very much. And
awesome. Thank you. Thank you all. Krista, would you like to say a little bit about what inspired you to make this record?
Yeah, I actually made this a couple years ago, so I don't remember exactly what was happening in my life when I was writing this, but I get overwhelmed a lot and I put a lot on my plate, so I often get stressed, and I think this was just like an outlet to talk about that stress and talk about how there's no really reason to be upset in life, but sometimes it just feels overwhelming. So.
Awesome. All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and play your record, Happened in the Past. Here we go.
The world just fell on my chest. Sometimes I think I just need rest. Just breathe, they say. Just smile and fake your happiness, and everything will be okay. But everything already is, and I'm done. I'm done treading the steep, rough ocean, and I'm broken. And I'm degrading from exhaustion, and you take your sledgehammer and try to fix it back. But it's over. That happened in the past. I'm Anywhere I look, there's no helping hand. I'm here, they say. I wanna be your happiness, and everything will be okay. But everything already is, and I'm done. I'm done treading this deep, rough ocean, and I'm broken. And I'm degrading from exhaustion, and you take your sledgehammer and try to fix it back. But it's over. That happened in the past. And when the ice is growing thin, my heart is breaking down. I wanna let you in, but the only thing that I can do is push you out. And I'm done treading the steep, rough ocean, and I'm broken. And I'm degrading from exhaustion, and you take your sledgehammer, try to fix it back, but it's over. That happened in the past.
Hey, can I say something?
Yes.
I haven't heard that song in maybe a month, and it's pretty amazing because I have severe anxiety, so I'm always thinking of the past and what's going to happen. So I almost got embarrassed and broke down there, Krista. And your vocal, as is all the people here, your vocals have what's missing today, music, and that's soul. You're all singing from here. So keep that up, man. That's incredible. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Steve. And let's not forget Jen over there with the production. Jen, you always talk about you're not a great producer, man. That was absolutely incredible, Jen. Come on.
you.
That was awesome.
Doing
Jen
my
is
best.
amazing.
Hey,
Yeah,
Krista.
that's awesome, Jen. This is Amadeus. Listen, it ain't easy producing that type of track, you know, where it's just flow and it's free. I'm telling you, trust me, like, you know, it's way easier building drums and all of the instruments to accompany one another. But when it's just keys and it's just basically about the vocal and the keys, you know what I mean, and other elements here and there, like that's very admirable, man. I'm very impressed. And a great record. That's a great record. Great record.
Acoustic. Who played the acoustic?
I don't remember if I did or Jen did. I think I did. I remember Jen, I would always want like auto tune and all this stuff to like add on to it, and Jen was like telling me just keep it simple and keep it like raw, and I'm really thankful that she did.
All right. Well, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jen. Go ahead.
I was going to say, it's interesting to pick your battles in the studios with your artists. And I do remember that was one I was like, I'm not going to put auto-tune on that.
No, it was like a weekly battle. Like every time I'd be like but.
Yeah. Well, again, thank you all for everyone involved in that record. Thank you, Steve. That was fantastic. We have one more record before we announce the best record. And this is from the pop genre, and this is Michaela Skelton with Lost Hope. But do we have Rafa here? Judge for that record? Okay. Well, Michaela, go ahead and jump right in and tell us a little bit about this record. I can tell you a whole bunch about it, but I'm gonna let you go ahead and do that. I see you got your squad with you, so y'all can go ahead and tell us a little bit about it. Introduce yourself, please.
Okay. Hi, I'm Aquila. Do y'all want to introduce yourselves? Or?
Yeah, go ahead. You tell them about yourself.
Okay. Hi, I'm Aquila. The song that I put out is basically about, well, I stick my head in books a lot, and this song is mainly about, if you haven't seen Divergent or what is it called? It's Divergent and Mockingjay with Katniss, Prim, and Tobias and all of them. And song is called Lost Hope. And in Divergent, Tris and Tobias, they, you know, I wouldn't say that they were too good, but at the end, everything didn't seem too bad, and they all lost hope because at the end of both movies, they ended up losing each other. So this song is basically about my escape through their eyes in the book and writing it all into a song. So it would be my little happy place of a book.
All right, fantastic. Excited to play it. Here we go.
I didn't know based on it.
Tired of the life that I'm living, and I am ready for a change. My future doesn't really look that pretty, and my name is going down in vain. Hate is such a lovely word, we use it every day. And love is such a toxic word, it always seems to get in the way. Like when you hate it when I'm happy, but you love it when I'm mad. And as time flew by, loving you didn't seem so bad, no. Now looking back on what we had hope. Yeah, we had hope. Now it's time to let it go. We had hope, yeah, all when it hope. Used to have hope, yeah, all when it hope. We had, yeah, all when it hope. Used to have hope, yeah, all when it hope. We had hope, yeah, all when it hope. Used to have hope, yeah, all when it hope. We had, yeah, all when it hope. Used to have hope, yeah, all when it hope. Wrapped around your finger, loving you like it was good. And my blood seems to get a little thicker, but I guess you never understood. Hate is such a lovely word, we use it every day. And love is such a toxic word, it always seems to go to waste. I'm a hate freak, and I love to hate what's good. And all the lost hope never left, although it should. Looking back on what we had hope. Yeah, we had hope, now it's time to let it go. We had hope, yeah, all when it hope. Used to have hope, yeah, all when it hope. We had, yeah, all when it hope. Used to have hope, yeah, all when it hope.
Goodness gracious. Goodness gracious. Incredible. Will, was that you in the production, sir? Man, I'm trying to tell you what we be doing over here at Note for Notes, man. Goodness gracious, that was a banger. With that being said, we'll go ahead and announce the best record, the overall best record, and that goes to Michaela Skelton with Lost Hope. Everybody, round of applause. So, just
awesome track.
So you know, everyone, first of all, everyone who submitted records, even those for not on the call who didn't win any in any of the categories, everything was amazing. For y'all that are here, well deserved. Congratulations. You all do know you will be receiving your own pair of Rocket 5s from KRK. Michaela, you being the best overall record, you'll receive your Rocket 5s also with the KRK headphones. So there'll be shipping confirmation with the speakers as soon as that stuff sends out. But before we give our thank yous, we have our CEO, Phil Gillen here. Phil, do you want to say something?
I did. Hey, everybody. I've been communicating with most of the judges and everyone through email. So sorry I was running late. We were on a tour. But I just really want to thank all the judges for your time. I know there's a lot of back and forth on my end, and Dendy from Gibson Gives. He and I cooked this up a while back, and Mac was on this call as well from KRK, reaching out to everybody. Just really appreciate you all sort of making the time and helping us get through the bumps of doing one of these. Is our first contest we've ever done like this. So really appreciate all your feedback, the time here. And also I think most of you, with the exception of Joe, because if I read correctly, you're in Seattle area?
San Diego.
Oh, San Diego. Okay.
Yeah.
And so nonetheless, we don't have a studio in San Diego yet, but I think for everyone else, like Steve, we're actually in our East Nashville studio. So it's right over off of it's in the Boys and Girls Club off of Alpha Ellington in Cleveland.
I'm all the way in Williamson County. That's like a long drive.
That's a road trip,
I'm where they protested the other night. That's my neighborhood.
We've heard about that.
Yeah, not very proud of that. Anyway, sorry.
But Allie, we've got a studio in LA, like in Mar Vista area. So as things kind of open up more, I'd love to have you in. And I think about, also learned on this call that Amadeus, I think you said you're based in Vegas, if I heard correctly. And so that's actually our newest studio. We opened that. We opened it last year, and it did get opened during the pandemic. So we'd love to have you out to that one when we can.
You said you got one in Vegas?
Yep.
Nice. Yeah. So I'm born and raised in New York. I'm a Bronx king now. I'm a Bronx king now. So I'm in New York, but I fly when I go play the club in Vegas. I fly out for the weekend. So I fly out Friday. I stay Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and then I fly back on Monday. So I think the next I'll be out in Vegas every first weekend of the month for the rest of the year. So every first weekend I'll be out in Vegas. So we'll definitely connect, and I would love to stop by.
Awesome. Well, and we've got 5 studios in New York, including 2 in the Bronx. So Vegas is there,
Yes.
And Mimi, she's in one of our Brooklyn studios. So
I live in Brooklyn now. I'm from the Bronx, but I live in Brooklyn now. So I need to touch all 5, man. I got to show love to the whole NYC. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
awesome.
Push if you ever want to stop by.
Nice, awesome.
Yankee fan, no doubt, right? Yankee fan?
Oh yeah. Oh yes.
Okay.
Yankees.
Giants.
I'm absolutely the Giants is the Giants is what I bleed the most. Like I'm like the football is my number 1 sport. And sorry to get you got me hyped up when you said the Giants. Let me calm down. Let me calm down. Because we actually play Saturday. We play against the Jets on Saturday in preseason, and I'm like way hyped up.
Well, again, just want to thank everybody. Hopefully find more ways to get you involved, keep you involved as well. And now that we've been doing this in this capacity remotely too. And so whether it's coming into a studio, we're still hanging out more like this, or, to the degree that you had time, like us passing tracks around and things like that. I mean, I kind of see Notes for Notes as like one big community, and that's our young musicians, that's our partners and sponsors, that's the artists, that's everyone around. So that there's always a way to kind of keep growing this community, and really appreciate you guys joining in this capacity. And I'm always blown away by the music that comes out of our spaces, and this is just more evidence of that. So thank you to everybody.
Thanks for having us.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Phil.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks for having me, for sure. Thank you, guys.
It was nice meeting everybody.
Peace.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And congrats.